Hello everyone, my name is Tyson Gaylord and this is my YouTube channel. This is gonna be the first video on this channel, so let me briefly explain what this channel is gonna be about.
So on this channel, I'm going to share my opinions, I'm going to give some personal stories, I'm going to rant. That's what you should expect to see on this channel. The purpose of this channel, I guess, is to relate to other people, maybe convince other people of what I believe, or maybe they'll convince me. In the comment section down below, make sure you leave a comment, like, and subscribe. But yeah, that's what I'm going for with this channel. So today's video is going to be obviously an opinion. I'm going to share my opinion, which is that I don't believe free will exists. That's what today's video is going to be about. And yeah, let's get right into it without further ado.
Before we get into the arguments for free will, we first must define what free will even is, because there's a couple main definitions that I've heard of. The first definition of free will is called libertarian free will. The second definition is called compatibilist free will. Those are the two main definitions, so let's get into libertarian free will. Libertarian free will is the ability to have chosen otherwise. So what does this mean exactly? Let me give an example. Let's say you're at the ice cream shop and you're trying to choose between chocolate and vanilla ice cream. Let's say you decided to go with chocolate ice cream. If you have libertarian free will, then if you had a time machine, hypothetically speaking, of course, and you went back in time to the moment before you made your decision to go with chocolate, then there is a genuine possibility that you could have done otherwise. That you could have chosen vanilla instead of chocolate. Now, this might seem obvious to you if you've never thought about this before, but it's not obvious at all, actually, because there is another idea called determinism. And determinism is defined as the idea that every event that occurs within the universe, including human choices, are the inevitable result of prior causes. So think of the universe as being one giant cosmic domino effect. So first there was the Big Bang, and then the Big Bang caused matter to explode everywhere. I know that it wasn't actually an explosion, it was an expansion or whatever, but I don't f***ing care. So matter exploded everywhere across the cosmos, and then it formed the solar system, then it formed the Earth, then life on Earth formed over billions of years because of evolution, and then your parents were made, and then they decided to make you, and now you're here now, and the reason that you're here is because of all those prior causes. If the Big Bang never happened, then you wouldn't be here. But once the Big Bang was the first domino that got toppled over, and then once you topple one domino, all the rest just fall down in succession. And unless some other force, like a hand, stops the dominoes from falling, they will continue to fall. It's like once the first domino falls, all the other dominoes are going to fall. It's inevitable. So determinism is contrary to the idea of libertarian free will, because if determinism is true, then that means that your choices couldn't have been otherwise. So in the ice cream example, if you chose chocolate ice cream, you were inevitably going to choose that. There was no genuine possibility that you could have chosen vanilla under determinism. That's what determinism says. Now you might be asking, okay, if everything in the universe happens because of a prior cause, then what caused the Big Bang? And that's a good question. What did cause the Big Bang? Was it God? Or was it aliens? Nobody knows. But it doesn't matter, because it's even if something caused the Big Bang and it could have been otherwise, like a being such as a God with free will caused the universe to come into existence, that doesn't really mean that you have free will. It's once the dominoes topple over, they're gonna topple over inevitably. Just once the Big Bang happened, it's everything from that point has just been inevitable. Even if the universe itself was not caused, if it was just random or whatever. But yeah. So I hope you understand what libertarian free will is by that explanation. Now let's go on to compatibilist free will. Compatibilist free will is, the reason it's called compatibilist free will is because it is compatible with determinism, unlike libertarian free will. Because free will under compatibilism is defined as the ability to act according to one's desires without external threats or force. So back to the ice cream example, if you chose chocolate ice cream and nobody was forcing you to choose chocolate ice cream, then that was an act of free will under compatibilism. That's all free will is under compatibilism. It's just doing what you desire without external without external threats or force. So what would be an example of a time where you don't have free will under compatibilism? Well, if you were at the ice cream shop and let's say you wanted vanilla ice cream and someone came up to you with a gun and said, if you don't choose chocolate ice cream, then I'm going to shoot you in the head, then of course you're going to choose chocolate ice cream. But it's not because you internally desired it. It's because something external to you forced you to choose chocolate. It's like, that's not actually what you wanted. You didn't want chocolate, you wanted vanilla. But the external threat forced you to pick it. That would be an example of a time where you do not have free will under compatibilism. The compatibilist version of free will, as I see, is just like freely doing what you will. So whenever you do what you will just means whatever you desire or whatever you prefer or whatever you want. That's what your will is, it's just your desires. So whenever you do what you desire and you're doing it freely, like not like if you wanted to eat a banana, but you couldn't because you were handcuffed to a table or to a pole or something. Like there was a banana sitting on the other side of the room, but you were handcuffed to a pole, so you couldn't get the banana, then you would not be acting freely because you're not freely doing what you will. But whenever you do what you want, that's just free will under compatibilism. That's what compatibilism is. So like to be clear, like even if all of your choices are predetermined by prior causes, even if all of your choices are inevitable and they couldn't have been otherwise, you still have free will under compatibilism. So which of these definitions best represents what free will actually is? Like which one of these definitions represent what people mean when they use the term free will? I don't think compatibilism is very representative of free will. Like when most people use the word free will, what they are trying to get at is like, should we hold this person accountable for their actions? Like if somebody murders someone, do they deserve to go to prison? Do they deserve to be punished? People make the assumption that if you have free will, then that means, yeah, you should be punished because you had, I guess, control over your actions, or you could say you could have done otherwise. But the compatibilist definition of free will, to remind you, is like, no, all free will is just doing what you want. But like, just because you do what you want, like, there's a famous quote by Arthur Schopenhauer, and it goes a little something like this. I don't remember exactly what he says, but he basically said, you can do what you will, but you can't will what you will. So what this means is that you can do what you want, but you don't choose what you want. It's like you might want to eat a banana, but did you choose to want to eat a banana? It's like you don't choose to want things. I think you just do want things. So if you wanted to murder someone and you did what you wanted, is that really your fault? Because like you didn't choose to want to murder someone, you just did want to murder someone. And again, like under compatibilism, it's like you couldn't have done otherwise. So it's like if someone murders someone, they couldn't have done otherwise. Like they were always going to do that. So I think that most people would agree that it doesn't seem fair to punish someone for something that they were inevitably going to do. Like how is that fair? Like they didn't have a choice. They had to murder them. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like they couldn't have not murdered that person. So it would seem unfair to punish them. When people talk about free will, we're talking about like moral responsibility and accountability for your actions and all this stuff. And I don't think compatibilism represents that very well. So I think the libertarian definition is maybe better, but I also think this is going to get into what my argument, which is that I don't think that free will can even exist at all. I think it's literally impossible because I don't even know what it is. When you take the libertarian definition of free will, I don't really know what that even means because I don't know what it's trying to say. Is it trying to say that your will itself is free? It's not saying that you're freely doing what you will. So maybe it's saying that your will is free. So it's like free, the will is free, free will. But like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what does it mean for your desires or your will to be free? I don't know what that even means. It's like, yeah. So this gets me to the main argument that I'm going to put forth in this video. This is the main reason why I don't believe in free will. And it's not my argument, so let me give some credit. I heard this from Alex O'Connor. He is a philosophy YouTuber guy. I saw this from when he was debating Ben Shapiro on religion. They argued a bit about free will, and in the debate, he put forth an argument, and it goes a little something like this. So he says that all of your choices are either determined or they are not determined. If your choices are determined, then that means that they couldn't have been otherwise, and therefore you don't have free will. And if they are not determined, then they are random. And obviously, if your choices are random, then you don't have control over them. It's like when you roll a dice, that's random, right? You don't have control over the outcome of that. So yeah, that's what he argues. He says that this goes for all choices. It's like your choices are either determined or not determined. There is no other category that your choices might fall under. It's a dichotomy. I don't know what a dichotomy is, but apparently this is a dichotomy. And to give another example, you could also construct a similar argument, which is that all colors are either blue or they are not blue. So let's think about this. So there's green, there's red, there's purple, there's yellow, there's a whole bunch of colors. And I think that all colors, if you think about it, it's like they all must fall under one of these two categories. They're either blue, obviously blue would fall into the blue category, and all the other colors would fall into the not blue category. There is no third category. It's like all colors must fall under one of those two. So same thing here. It's like it could be said about all events that occur in the universe that they are either determined or they are not determined. You could also make another argument, which is kind of similar, which is to say that all of your choices are determined. Because like the whole concept of randomness is kind of confusing. It's like, I don't even know what randomness, it kind of like makes my mind melt. I don't understand what it means. And to clarify, when I mean randomness, there's like a distinction that needs to be made. So there's a lot of seemingly random things that occur within the universe. Like, for example, like I was talking about earlier, a dice roll. A dice roll is random, right? Wrong. A dice roll is, well, actually, it might be random, but I don't think it is random. I think, like everything in the universe, it's determined. But the reason that it seems random, like when you roll a pair of dice, it seems like it could land on anything. There's like a 1 out of 6 chance, a 1 out of 6 probability that one of the dice will land on a 1 or a 2 or whatever. There's like, it deals with probabilities. So that's like randomness. But it's not actually random because if you could calculate all the variables of a dice roll, like how much spin you gave the dice when you threw them, the distance between your hand and the table when you released the dice to throw them, which side of the dice were facing up when you threw them, how much velocity you gave the dice when you threw them. Like if you could calculate all of the variables in the dice throw, then you could know with 100% certainty what the dice were going to land on. But of course you can't do this, not without like some fancy robot majigger. Like I'm sure you could like make a robot that can calculate these things, but you're not a robot. You're a human being with a soul. And so from your point of view, it seems random. It seems like the dice can land on anything, right? But that's only because you're stupid and retarded. Because if you weren't stupid, if you could actually calculate all the things that I just listed, then you could know with 100% certainty what the dice were going to land on. It wouldn't seem like there is a chance that it could land on anything. Another example would be like a coin flip. Like when you flip a coin, there's like a 50% chance that it will land on heads, right? It's like, no, there's either, under determinism, either something happens or it doesn't happen. Either there's a 100% chance that something will happen or a 0% chance. There's no such thing as like a 50% probability in determinism. It's like either the coin will land on heads or it will not. That's how determinism works. I think determinism is intuitive. It's like the whole idea of determinism is that there is always like a cause or a reason behind anything that occurs. It's like things just don't happen for no reason. Like that matches our experience of life. There's always like a reason behind things. So I think you can make a strong argument that randomness doesn't exist at all and that all of your choices are determined. And obviously, if all of your choices are determined, then you don't have free will, because then they would be inevitable. Another thing I wanted to say is that a lot of people talk about, if you've ever heard about free will, like a lot of people say that, yeah, we don't actually have free will, but there's still an illusion of free will. And I've realized what this means. It's like the illusion of free will comes with the fact that you're stupid, with the fact that you're ignorant of the future. Because when you're choosing between chocolate and vanilla ice cream, obviously it seems like there's a chance that you could choose vanilla or chocolate. Like it seems like there's a chance that you could choose one or the other, that you could choose otherwise. Libertarian free will. Like libertarian free will to me just sounds like randomness. That's all. When people say you could have done otherwise, that just seems like randomness to me. And I could be wrong, but that's just what it seems like. But anywho, it seems like there's a genuine chance that you could choose one or the other. But of course, it's just because you're stupid. Obviously, if you went to the future and you figured out what you chose, then there would be no mystery about what you chose. Like you already would have known what you chose. But you don't have knowledge of the future. You only have knowledge of the past. So that's where the illusion of free will comes from. It's like, another example is like the weather. Like, the weather seems random, right? When you go onto the weather app, there's like a 69% chance that it'll rain or not. But again, that's just our limited human knowledge. Like, obviously, if we could calculate all the variables, then we could know with 100% certainty, like, if it was going to rain or not. There would be no such thing as, like, chance if we had all the variables and all the knowledge, but we don't. So we work in probabilities, but these probabilities aren't like true probabilities. Like a good example of like something that is potentially like a real, like true randomness, not like perceived randomness because of how stupid we are, would be quantum mechanics. And I don't want to get into quantum mechanics because I'm not smart and I don't want to like get it wrong or something, but quantum mechanics deals with like small things. So like particles, atoms, like it deals with like the mechanics of small microscopic things. That's what quantum mechanics is. It describes the behavior of small shit, basically. I think I could be getting that wrong, but that's what I think it is. And what's interesting about quantum mechanics compared to like normal, I guess, classical mechanics is that they deal with probabilities. There's like genuine probability involved. I mean, I know there's like certain interpretations of quantum mechanics that don't involve probability and are deterministic, like the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. But yeah, I thought I'd just mention that because, yeah, it's kind of like an important thing to mention in a free will video. But yeah, so that's the argument. I'm pretty convinced by this argument. I don't think there are any successful counter arguments to this argument, or at least I haven't heard any. But I'm going to go over the ones that I have heard of. So let's get into the counter arguments. Okay, so the first counter argument is that your choices are a brute fact. So what the hell is a brute fact, you might be asking? A brute fact is a fact that has no further explanation behind it. So it's not determined, but it's also not random. It just is. So a good example of this is if you've ever heard the famous question, why is there something rather than nothing? It's a famous philosophical inquiry. And a lot of people answer this question by just saying, it just is. Why is there something? Well, there just is something. It's a brute fact that you just have to accept. There is no explanation, like why? It's like there is no why. So that's like what a brute fact is. This is like an attempt to break the determined versus not determined dichotomy by introducing a third option that your choices could fall under, which is that they are brute facts. And some people try to argue that this may give you free will. So the first thing I would say to this is that I think if something is a brute fact, then that would just make it inevitable. So in a way, it kind of falls into like the determined category, because if your choices are determined, the reason why you would say that they're not free is because they couldn't have been otherwise. They're inevitable. But if your choices are a brute fact, then I think that would just make them inevitable too. And if they're not inevitable, then I would just say that they're random. It's like, why is there something rather than nothing? Well, there just is something. Well, that just seems random to me. But maybe it's not random. Well, if it's not random, then it would just be inevitable. Well, I guess if you're going to say something is inevitable, that like indicates that it's gonna happen. But a brute fact is not time bound, I don't think. Like an example of a brute fact would be like 2 + 2 = 4. Why does 2 + 2 = 4? Well, it just does. It's a brute fact. But I don't think that's time bound. Like 2 + 2 = 4, it doesn't occur across time. Like I don't think brute facts occur across time. So to even say that a choice is a brute fact, it seems kind of fishy because a choice is a time-bound word, whereas a brute fact, it's not a time-bound word. It's like, what does it mean for your choice to be a brute fact? That seems kind of weird to say. Like a choice is a process of like thinking and whatever. So to say it's a brute fact, that just seems wrong. Like 2 + 2 = 4, it doesn't, I mean, obviously, when you solve 2 + 2 = 4, when you're like solving, okay, what does 2 + 2 equal? Oh, it equals 4. But that's just, again, human intelligence and our retardation, because you could also just say that 4 equals 2 + 2. It's like, I don't think you have to write it one way or the other. It's like, I think they exist simultaneously. I don't even know. This is confusing for me, but I think that I would just say that if your choices are a brute fact, that would just make them inevitable.
Hey, Editing Tyson here. What I meant to say here is that your choices couldn't have been otherwise if they are brute facts, not that they are inevitable. Because like I said before, I don't think that brute facts are time-bound. So to say that a brute fact is inevitable doesn't really make any sense because that indicates that it's gonna happen. But I think brute facts exist across time, or timelessly, I guess you could say. So yeah.
And that wouldn't make them free. So still no free will. I don't think this argument succeeds in proving that you have free will. Okay, now on to the next argument. The next argument is called agent causation. This is the idea that your choices are not determined by prior causes. They are caused by us, free agents, whatever that f***ing means. So I would just say that this doesn't break the determined versus not determined dichotomy. It's like, even if you, I mean, that's already like, what does it mean for you to be you? That's a whole philosophical discussion, but I don't want to get into that. But like, what if, even if you are the cause behind your actions, it doesn't change the fact that they're still inevitable and couldn't have been otherwise. It would still fall under the determined category. So I don't see how you being the cause behind your actions gives you free will. That just sounds like compatibilist free will. It's like, yeah, you can do what you desire, and it's like you are doing it, but you still couldn't have done otherwise. So I don't see how that gives you free will. Okay, so the next argument against free will is that our intelligence gives us free will. So this is like an umbrella term, intelligence, because I hear a lot of different arguments. Like people will say that people will just list off like all of our abilities as humans, like our ability to use reason, logic, thought, reflection, etc. All of these things, like basically our big brain gives us free will somehow. Whereas other animals, they just blindly do what they desire. They just blindly follow their desires. But humans have an ability to think and reflect and decide what we really want or whatever. Like we can withhold engaging in our desires because we have this ability to think and to reflect upon our decisions and whatnot. I mean, to say that humans are the only ones with that ability is a stretch. Like I'm pretty sure other animals can think as well. Maybe not to the extent that humans do, but yeah. But yeah, that's what people argue. People say that our intelligence gives us free will. But again, this doesn't break the determined versus undetermined dichotomy. It's like, even if you have this ability to think and reason and use logic and whatever, who gave you all of these abilities? It's like, you didn't give yourself these abilities. These were gifted upon you by evolution, or God, if that's what you believe in. So it's like, it's still the case that your choices are determined by prior causes. So yeah, no free will, baby. Okay, the next argument is kind of similar. It's the idea that you can choose between desires. So we humans have multiple competing desires, and some people will claim that we have the ability to choose which of these desires we want to engage in. So for example, let's say you wanted to go to the gym. That's a desire that you have. You want to go to the gym so that you can be healthy and develop a great physique or whatever and get a six-pack. But you also have the desire to sit on your fucking lazy fat ass and eat Doritos and jerk off. You have both of these desires, competing desires, because you want to do both. But you can't get both, can you? So this is where people say, oh, we have the ability to choose which desire we want to engage in. And I would just say, no you fucking don't, you dipshit. It's like, I subscribe to the idea that you always do what you want. You always do, well, let me rephrase that. You always do what you want the most. So what determines what you do, ultimately, is whatever you desire the most. So if you had a desire to go to the gym that was like an 8 out of 10 intensity, you desire to go to the gym 8 out of 10. Like, you really wanted to go, baby. And your desire to sit at home and be lazy was only a 6 out of 10. The desire wasn't as strong as your desire to go to the gym. Then what determines which desire you will engage in is whichever one is stronger. So since the desire to go to the gym is an 8 out of 10, that is the desire that you will engage in. There is no choice in the matter. You just do what you want the most. Now, some people will try to counter this. They'll try to provide examples of times where we do things that we don't want. Like, a common example is people will say, I don't want to go to school, but I still go. Like, so many people say, I don't want to go to school, yet everyone still goes. But like, again, the reason you go to school is because you're afraid of the consequences of not going to school. If you don't go to school, then you're going to get scolded by your parents. Like, I'm sure like you have a lot of friends at school. I didn't, but maybe you have a lot of friends. And that can be motivating because you want to go to school to see your friends. Like, maybe the classes suck, but at least you get to see your friends. And you don't want to be a weirdo. Like, you don't want to be homeschooled because that makes you a social outcast and a weirdo, you fucking loser. So there's significant motivation for you to go to school. Again, you have competing desires. Your desire to not be homeschooled and to fit in with all the other kids outweighs your desire to sit at home and be lazy and not go to school. And it's not just one desire. It's like, there's that desire, the desire to not be a social outcast, but also the desire to get a good job, because if you don't go to school, then you won't be able to secure a good job in the future, so that will be bad. You know, there's like a bunch of different reasons. And I think it's pretty obvious that you always do what you want the most, because why would you do something if you actually thought that something was not in your best interest? Why the hell would you do it? Everyone acts in their best interest. Like, this is the biggest reason why I don't think free will exists. It's like so obvious to me that people just do what they want. Like, everyone just does what they want to the best of their ability. Obviously, like, I think that people do things that they don't want on accident. Like, let me rephrase it again. People always do what they think they want the most. The key word there being think. Because people are fallible and we can do things that we think we want. Like, I want to do drugs at this party. And you think that's what you want. But when you're like throwing up the next day and like in a lot of pain or whatever, and you feel like shit, you might realize that, oh, actually, doing drugs was not in my best interest. It was actually not what I wanted. The overall experience of drugs, maybe it was fun for a little bit, but the consequences afterwards, yeah, it wasn't worth it. But again, when you did choose to do drugs, you did think it was in your best interest. You were wrong about that, but you still did think it was in your best interest. So yeah, I don't think you have the ability to choose between desires. I think you always do what you want the most. Okay, so the last argument I want to talk about is the idea that you can put in that effort, baby. Because a lot of people, when you debate if you have free will, a lot of people will admit that, yeah, like, you may not have been given a good hand in life. Like, you might be a short king, you might be ugly, and have a big nose, and have acne, and have an annoying voice, like me. It's like you might not have control over what hand you get in life, like your genetics. Like, nobody's gonna blame you for having bad genetics, right? It's like nobody's gonna make fun of you for being ugly. Well, some people will because they're assholes. But if you're like a good person, it's collectively understood that you're a bad person if you make fun of someone for being ugly or being short or something. Because it is the majority opinion that, yeah, you do not control these things. But people will still go on to say that, no, you still have some control. Like, your choices, you still have control over like your choices in life. So you may not have clear skin, you might have acne, but you still have the choice to get acne treatment, to buy acne products to help get rid of your acne, or eat a healthy diet to get rid of your acne. You may not have a lot of muscle mass. You might have skinny bitch genetics, like I do. But you still have that choice to go to the gym and eat a lot of food, to bulk up. You have a choice. That's what people try to argue. But again, this argument does not provide an alternative to the
Determined versus undetermined dichotomy.
I want to know what goes through other people's minds. Like, when they think about free will, it's like, think about it this way. Why the hell, if you had a choice in front of you, why in the world would you not choose what's always in your best interest? Like, there's this impression, there's this belief that is held by a lot of people that if you're a lazy person, then you deserve your bad position in life because you're lazy, you're not a hard worker. It's like, yeah, LeBron James, he might have good genetics. He got lucky in that area. But there was a lot of people who had LeBron James genetics, but they're not in the NBA, but LeBron is. But it's like, what people fail to understand is like, genetics doesn't just apply to like your height, your weight, your muscle mass. It also applies to like your drive and your motivation. The way I see the world, I see it through like an evolutionary lens. So like, the reason you have all of the abilities that you have, like all of your desires, the reason you desire the things that you do, like the reason you desire food, for example, is because it's good for your survival. Because if you didn't desire food, if you didn't enjoy the taste of food, then you just wouldn't eat food and then you wouldn't have survived. That's why you have that desire. You've been selected by the evolutionary process because evolution favors organisms that can survive and reproduce. That's why having sex feels good. Jerking it feels good. Because a lot of people will say about how hard they work, but like, what people don't understand is that you have a desire to work. Because if you think about it, if you didn't desire to work hard, if you didn't like putting in a bunch of effort, then you wouldn't have survived, because it's important. If you didn't enjoy like walking and running around and finding food and hunting prey, then you wouldn't have survived. Like, the reason we have these desires, the desire to work hard, is because it was good for your survival. It's like we all have this desire within us to work. But what people don't understand is that some people have a greater desire than other people. In the same way that some people are taller than other people. There's like differences among people. Like, people are not the same, obviously. Like, some people are stronger, some people are faster, some people are taller. And some people have a greater motivation and drive than other people. Yet we have this like, there's like this illusion of fairness. Like, if you have two people with like the exact same height, the exact same muscle mass, the exact same like physical features, and one succeeds and not the other, then we like to say like, oh, the person who succeeded, they just worked harder. They deserve their fame and success. But it's like, no, they just got luckier. They had a greater desire to work. And again, why in the hell would you not choose what's in your best interest? It's like, I don't know about other people, but when I'm thinking about my own life, like I never do something that's bad for me. Like maybe, like you can think of some examples where people do like self-deprecating humor, for example. Like some people will just like harm themselves. And it's like, yeah, obviously they're not doing what they want. Why would they do that if people only did what was in their best interest? Like you can think of so many of these examples. But like again, back to like the wants and desires, like you always do what you want the most. The reason why some people do like self-deprecating humor is because of like social reasons. They have a desire to be, they want to be funny so that people will like them more because like, oh, look at this guy, he's so funny, he like slapped himself in the face, that's so funny, or whatever. And then that makes them feel good inside. It's like, oh yes, I got social approval. Because again, that's another desire that we humans have. We are social animals. We desire to fit in, and we want people to think that we're cool so that they accept us into their social group. It's easier to survive with groups of people than it is alone. That's why we have the desire to like be social or whatever. Because like I know there's so many fucking people who will provide examples like, oh,
if you think that people only do what they want, then what about this?
it's like, bro, people always do what they want the most. Like there's so many times where people do things that on the outside, it seems like ridiculous. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? But once you understand from their point of view, it's like, yeah, there is a reason why they're like, there's so many times when you do things that you don't want in order to satisfy a greater want. But that doesn't mean that you have free will just because you didn't do what you want. You just did it. The only time you do things that you don't want is to satisfy an even greater want. That's why I said before, you always do what you want the most. But anywho, this video is long enough, so those are like the main reasons why I don't believe in free will. I probably could have talked about this for hella long. If you have an insight that you want to give me about maybe I didn't touch on an argument that you heard of for free will or against free will, so let me know in the comments down below what you think. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe, I guess. I don't give a shit.
Later!